Hello, Year 9. So today we're going to be going over a bit of exam practice, and you should have, in preparation for Wednesday, created a rough plan for the 12 marking which we're going to be doing on Wednesday. Now, the 12 marker was touching upon the different rates of marriage, and whether feminism was the main contributing factor in the trend in which has now established itself to be quite common. Um, so you'll do now is to match each statement with the theory. So we have feminism, Marxism, and functionalism. We have one, two, three, four statements. So the first statement, the decline of marriage is damaging the structure of the nuclear family. Now that feminist, Marxist, or functionalist approach, that should be a functionalist approach. Okay, so say it with me, or as in say it prior to I give you the answer, to just to double check to see as to what your knowledge is like, and then you can self-reflect if you are correct or incorrect. The second point, the fall in marriage is a sign of women overcoming patriarchy and showing their independence. That is going to be a feminist perspective or feminist view. Without women being the emotional sponge, who will fulfill it as a part of the warm bath theory that we know Parson said, and that links to again functionalism. All right, there is some element you could possibly link it to Marxism if you were to explain it in a very particular way, um, with regards to women kind of absorbing the stresses that men go through with regards to work when they come home. But this is going to be a functionalist view. The decrease in marriage is not good for capitalism. Men need to feel like they are in control of the household, otherwise, it could cause a revolt. That links to, again, Marxism this time. Okay, so again, you have to be comfortable with these statements, all right? You have to be comfortable with the differences of views and how you might apply it to a particular topic. So, if we look at the question over here, I've got two example answers. Now, student answer one, or example one over here, that we can see. I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit. This is our answer. We're going to read through it and we're going to discuss why they were given that particular mark, and I'm going to identify some issues in which you need to avoid. So, according to the Office of National Statistics, nearly 1 in 2 marriages end in divorce. That's a good way to start it off with, to be honest. One possible reason for this increase in divorce or lack of marriage it could be feminism. Okay, feminists believe that men and women should be equal. However, there is evidence that men and women are still not equal. For example, the continuing pay gap. Whilst more women are going out to work and are economically independent, they still earn less than men. Feminists attempt to empower women to believe that they can be independent of men, but the evidence indicates that men still have a greater share of available wealth. Feminists could be responsible for women having unrealistic expectations for marriage, leading to increased divorce and a decline in the popularity of marriage. There are other reasons for the high rate of divorce and a decline in the popularity of marriage, for example, secularization. Most people no longer believe that marriage is till death do us part. In conclusion, feminism could be said to have had a negative impact on marriage, but there are other factors to be considered. Now, the examiner here has given it 2 marks. Now, they've demonstrated some knowledge and they've been given 4 marks out of 12, but they don't use enough specialist key terms, and the conclusion is underdeveloped, and their argument is very, very inconsistent. One example of an inconsistent argument is the gender pay gap. This has absolutely nothing to do with marriage, um, none whatsoever. And with regards to the greater share of wealth, that has nothing to do with marriage. Yes, they made some good points with regards to unrealistic expectations, but in general, they've made some really, really irregular points. On the other hand, if we look at the second example, so what I would like you to do is I'm not going to read all of it because it's going to be too long. Pause the video, and then I'm going to drag it down, and then you can look at the second half of the actual answer. So pause the video now, and then we'll look at the second part in a moment. Right, now once you've read that, here is the conclusion. Pause the video again. Okay, so this is a level 3 answer, and they've been given 9 marks out of 12. And one of the main issues identified is that the conclusion is insufficiently developed. All right, and it's peripheral to their main argument, meaning they've repeated what they said in the actual answer. So when it comes to a conclusion, you have to try and add something which is different or separate to what you already mentioned, but it has to reinforce the argument in which you're going with. Okay, so these are the ways in which you kind of break that level 4 barrier. Bear in mind, level 4 is going to be 10 to 12, so they just got 9, meaning their conclusion was the only thing which was holding them back. Okay, that was the only thing which was holding them back. So it's 4 marks AO1, 4 marks AO2, 4 marks AO3. So tomorrow, or Wednesday even, we're going to be going over this question and you're going to be answering it in your own time. So I'm not going to help you tomorrow on Wednesday. This is going to be your opportunity now to use today's lesson, or you'll use today's video lesson to prepare a plan. I can answer some general questions, for some tips and advice, but in general, it's going to be down to you to develop or create an answer based on the information in which you have and the information in which you're going to take from this video. To further support you, I've demonstrated to you, so ignore the peer assess side of it. This is what the mark scheme actually looks like. So again, level 4, 10 out of 12, level 3, 7 out of 9, level 2, 4 out of 6, level 1, 1 out of 3. And it tells you if you're aiming, and I want everyone to aim for this level 3 to level 4 answer, you need to have good evidence, good application, and good analysis. It has to be logical. And your conclusions have to be developed in order to get that level 3, level 4 answer. I think everyone is capable of doing so, but it's going to be down to you. Here, I've given you some example questions or some example answers. Some points may relate, some points may not relate, so you have to work out what's going to be suitable. So, for example, an argument that feminism is the main reason why marriage has changed. 1960s, that's when the real feminist movement began to, build up a lot of momentum, and there was social change benefiting women. If we look at marriages, 1 in 2 marriages end in a divorce, which is a really key, statistic to mention. The feminist movement changed people's attitudes towards divorce and marriage. Women no longer felt the pressure to be married at a certain age. Okay, there was a 3% decrease in marriage from last year. These are all arguments for why feminism might have been the main reason as to why marriage has decreased. Okay, so women no longer feel the need. There's less stigma to not be married anymore. So these are all the possible arguments in which you can mention, which is from here, also from the actual attachment in which I put on show my homework for you. If you look at some of the points with regards to disagree, you've got secularization. Secularization means that we're becoming less religious. So people no longer feel the need to get married anymore. You know, some people don't marry because of the cost of it. The average wedding costs 27 grand. People are now cohabitating. So there's so many more reasons as to why marriage could be on the decline, which is going to be aside from feminism. But you might argue that feminism started it all off. So that could be a nice way to conclude your answer by saying feminism may not be the only factor, but it might be the major contributing factor which triggered a domino effect of all of these reasons as to why marriage is now decreasing. So again, there's so many ways in which you can do it. So use this as a general guideline. Use your notes. Do not copy what I have here verbatim or word for word. Use some of the points here to help you and create your own answer. Bear in mind, on Wednesday, you're going to be expected to do it on your own. It's down to you entirely. I'm not going to carry every single person. I'm going to do what I can to provide you with some level of framework, and you're going to need to be independent and create your own answers.